can help her, Mr. Pink.
I let you.
Hey, get in here. Dallas is about to start.
Welcome to the Ewing Barbecue, where everyone is calling Cliff a loser suddenly. My name is Mary.
I'm Josh, and I'm not a loser because I'm not a Barnes.
I'm Melanie. I am a loser.
It's the Losers Club. We are missing Sarah tonight, but she'll be back next week.
She better. We need to have all of us here.
Yeah, for sure. I'd like to do a quick shout out thank you to our Patreon members. Brendan Phillick, Captain America, Sheen Pye, Laura Bernheim, Anita Wren, and Kristin Carlano. And also another big shout out to Jennifer Indelicato, and I really hope I'm pronouncing that right, because she went and donated directly to braintumor.org in Jim Davis's name.
Thank you.
So good job, Jennifer. That's super awesome.
Here's that bourbon, and everyone give a smile. Woo!
Woohoo! Raise glass. Yes. And speaking of Jim Davis's fundraiser, we have done a little something to that. So we're converting that to us donating to be a full-fledged fundraiser for Jim Davis on braintumor.org. Like, he has his own webpage and everything where you can go, has a little memorial to him. And we're going to have that running until next year on his death date. So I believe that's next April?
April
26th.
You guys are awesome. Until next April 26th. Our goal is seeing if we can raise $500. If we can, we can. If we can't, we can't. But we're going to give it the old Dallas try. So you can find the address for that in your show notes, but it is bit.ly. So that's bit.ly/Jim Davis Memorial. And so, yeah, just check that out. We will be making a donation ourselves to start that out. And, yeah, head on over there.
Speaking of death dates.
You got some?
Yes, I do. Actually, on this date, May 24th, which is Priscilla Presley's 77th birthday, in 2017, on this date, Jared Martin died. Dusty Farlow.
Oh, Dusty.
Barbara Stock was born on this date May 26th is her birthday. Born 1956. Meg Gallagher, who played Luella, who just got the heave-ho from JR after that Asian counter-revolution fiasco. She died on May 27th of 2000. Wow. Martha Scott, who played Patricia Shepard, died on May 28th, 2003. And birthday coming up, we just mentioned Priscilla Presley. Omri Katz, going to be 46 on
May 30th?
May 30th.
Yeah, he was born the exact same day as my first big relationship boyfriend, who I actually just saw this weekend after 20 years.
How'd that go?
It went pretty well, actually.
They're getting back together.
I think Seth might be upset with that if that happened. No, he was great. It was really kind of cool, actually, to see him.
We can have these polyamorous relationships, you know.
Oh God. It's also okay to be on friendly terms, you know, after you've been broken up for 27 years. So, okay. So tonight we're talking about season 5, episode 2, episode 79 of the series, Gone But Not Forgotten.
And there was J.R. Ewing standing on the balcony, right in front of a broken railing.
Pamela, better than anyone, knows the love that a mother has for her child.
I don't think you should have involved her.
John Ross is much better off with me than that monster that I am married to.
I just got this from Sue Ellen's lawyer. You told me you were going to have the boy in your possession before the hearing. Well, it hasn't happened.
Well, I always win my fights, don't I?
If she wins this round, you may never get him.
It's a South Fork helicopter.
That's JR.
It was written by Arthur Bernard Lewis, directed by Leonard Katzman, and aired October 16th, 1981. Also, on October 16th, 1981, the #1 Billboard hit in the U.S. was once again Endless Love by Diana Ross and Lionel Richie. The #1 film in the country was Paternity, a film I've never heard of, starring Burt Reynolds, Beverly D'Angelo, Lauren Hutton, and Norman Fell, and directed by David Steinberg.
Did he hurt himself?
The top news stories this week. The top news story this week was Crazy George Henderson, a professional cheerleader, leads an audience wave in Oakland, California. It is believed to be the first audience wave.
Wow.
Yeah. And on Dallas.
Well, this episode actually was number 1 in the ratings, but its 28.4 rating was the first rating for the show that was below 30 since the first season. Little bit of slippage.
So people were busy doing the wave instead of watching TV.
Apparently.
What was the air date?
Apparently.
October 16th, 1981. So it wasn't even trick or treating yet. So I don't know.
There may have been a long weekend.
Could have been.
Or as they say on the Peanuts cartoon, tricks or treats.
I know my mom says that too. It just annoys the crap out of me. All right.
Casting notes. This is the series premiere for one Deborah Renard, known as among the 3 Ds, she's known as Deb 2 because Deb Trinelli came on the show first. That's their little inside nickname they have for each other. D1 and D2. She actually appeared in 191 episodes, which is more than any other actor who was not in the main titles.
Wow, I believe it.
Mm-hmm. She also returned in JR Returns. And Larry's advice to her when she came on the show was never ask for a raise. And that's probably why she stuck around so long.
Probably.
Not too long. The veteran character actor Bill Morey, who played the judge in this episode, makes his first appearance. He also returned as Leo Wakefield in seasons 7, 8, and 11. And Lane Smith, who played Ward in the hearing at the Kristin hearing, who was the prosecutor.
Yes.
He played Perry White on Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, which starred Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher. Also starred Dallas actors Tracy Scoggins and Kay Callan. The new Lois and Clark was also produced its first season by David Jacobs.
It was? I did not know that. That's cool. That actor, because I was like, where do I know him from? Where do I know him from? He is the dad in the Pauly Shore movie Son-in-Law, which I really like that Pauly Shore movie.
And Ken Kercheval had some thoughts about being called a loser by Afton, which we'll get to when the scenes come up.
I'm telling you, everybody's calling. The loser thing starts in this episode. It has not been done before, really. So, okay, so we open on Braddock County Courthouse. A limo pulls up with Clayton, Dusty, and Sue Ellen.
That is a tiny building.
It is. Well, I mean, Braddock, it's just like a little bedroom community, right? So
yeah, it's not Dallas. This ain't Dallas.
This ain't your Dallas. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Okay.
I called it Sue Ellen and her army.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, yep. I called it Sue Ellen and her posse.
Right. Either way, yeah. She's actually got someone backing her up for once.
Yeah, and he will.
And Jared doesn't like it.
Clayton and Dusty will hobble in one mighty hobble, as JR says. No.
He's such a dick.
They do a good job of it because, I think they're an even match. So they go inside and Cliff is testifying. And we learn it's just a preliminary trial.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I was kind of like, when I saw JR like at the defense table, it was like, and they should have made you do the perp walk. I know they didn't, but still should have paraded you right in front of the cameras.
Totally should have.
You would have liked that, wouldn't you?
You know what I like in TV shows when they're like, oh, we'll walk you out the back entrance and that's where the press is camped.
Right.
Shouldn't they call that the press entrance?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So first Cliff is testifying, then it cuts to JR testifying, and JR says she's high. She was high.
Which
alcohol or pills or booze or drugs or something. Funny because he's not a medical expert.
You don't want to believe him at first. It's like, okay, yeah, you're just making excuses now.
Right.
Now I like how
I didn't believe a word he said, but
I like how they've obviously toned Cliff and JR down to the point where they're not saying, well, he was in the pool drowning her and
right. There are people who have gotten a hold of them to be like, yeah, you can't say that. You have to actually,
But come to find out, JR's telling the fucking truth.
I know. And right. It was JR, so you would never know.
You would never know.
You never know. Mostly about Kristin. He would say anything.
He would.
So yeah, he
But
says that
even the medical examiner got up there and was like, because the hearing took up a good first few minutes of the episode.
it did.
I thought. Because they had, they had Cliff and they had JR, and then finally they had the medical examiner come in, and he's basically saying, she
was
had
high as a
drugs in her
kite and threw
system.
herself off the balcony. Yeah.
And Sue Ellen was like she had no idea Kristin was doing drugs.
She was shocked.
Yeah.
Yep. And not just like she was doing PCP, which they called angel dust.
Angel dust,
80s.
yeah.
Angel dust.
Because you think you can fly like an angel.
Right. And a little bit of alcohol. And that basically, there's no doubt she fell off that herself, hit her head probably, and then just drowned in the pool. Mm-hmm. Which sucks. I mean, no way around it. And you can just see that hit Sue Ellen. Yeah. Man.
And we did learn in the hallway that Kristin's going to be taken back to Albuquerque to be buried.
So, are they originally from Albuquerque? Like, what's with Albuquerque?
They might be, but somehow they ended up in Austin.
Right.
Because that's where Sue Ellen and Kristin and Patricia were when that's where they were living anyway when Sue Ellen went to college.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. I wonder if it's like the family was originally from Albuquerque, then moved later, maybe like after the dad left, moved to Dallas or Austin. I mean,
I wonder.
Albuquerque is what, New Mexico, right?
New Mexico, yeah.
Yeah. Because Sue Ellen never claimed to be for anywhere but Texas, right?
I mean, this is the first I've heard about Albuquerque, so that's why I'm questioning it.
It could be where Patricia has settled now.
Maybe, but then why would they take the body there? If it's just where she's settled now, you'd think that they'd take her to like where they originally from. Maybe where other family is.
There might be a family plot there because, Kristin went back and forth between Texas and California. She was even talking about New York at one point when she wanted to do architecture, right?
Right, yeah.
So,
yeah.
Was that when she looked like Colleen Camp?
It is when she looked like Colleen Camp.
Briefly, when she looked like Mary Crosby, she talked about it too.
That's true.
So we also learned that Patricia is beside herself and did not make the trip and is
right. Yeah. And she is also back in Albuquerque.
Yes. So she's not traveling Europe and getting into all that weird kinky.
Right. She's all done with that. Yeah. Her wild days are over. And then we also learned that Fenton Washburn, after some ass kissing, his job is secure, at least for the time being, in Dallas or Braddock or wherever he's from.
I'm sorry, I had to put you through that, Mr. Ewing.
He always wears that. He always wears that same.
Well, you know what, Mr. Washburn, Sheriff, what would you have done if he actually did push Kristin over the balcony? Would you be apologizing to him then?
Well, then he'd at least put him in jail, but now he's dangerous to him because he actually did have to arrest him and do all those things, so he's scared because JR is a dick.
Pam and Bobby offer their condolences to Sue Ellen.
Yeah.
Isn't this where she says Mama had such high hopes for Kristin?
It might be.
Or was it when they first walked in?
She talks about it later as maybe like
when she goes into a lot of backstory with when she's talking to
later
Dusty.
On in the episode. Yeah.
This was before that. This may have been in the hallway.
Okay. It could have been. Yeah, I just didn't write it down.
She didn't say much else other than Mama had such high hopes for her.
Right. And she's I feel like she's really upset. Like after the drug thing, she's just like really upset about it, which I mean, you would be. It's your little sister.
Well, yeah, because she spiraled out of control on alcohol herself.
Right. And then Bobby says, "Oh, you just have to put it all behind you now."
Oh,
and it's like,
okay,
well, maybe
Dr. Bobby.
Maybe she needs to talk about it, Bobby. Jesus, her sister just died.
Rather tragically.
Right.
You need to put it all behind you. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Like, you guys get to repair.
Forget about it.
You guys get to repair a balcony railing now, knowing that Kristin, fell the fuck off and died in your pool.
He's literally, later in the episode, swimming in the pool someone died in. And he's just like, it's fine.
God, I
hope they drained it.
I'm sorry, I would have filled it in and built one somewhere else on the property.
Right? Yeah, that shit's haunted now.
I would have fucking sold South Fork. Goodbye.
What if Kristin, what a good backstory. What if Kristin has been secretly haunting South Fork ever since then?
Kristin's ghost along with Jock's ghost.
Holy shit, just floating around. Woo. Yep.
Makes for an interesting supernatural program, doesn't it?
That is the fan fiction I want.
Oh my god.
Just that one.
Kristin's
just stories
ghost.
about Kristin's ghost. Yes, that's it. And it's just like she just scares the shit out of all the like young Ewing children.
Oh my god.
Like John Ross is a kid like, oh my god, there's a lady in the closet.
Like, don't worry, it's just your Aunt Kristin.
And maybe Teresa and Raul are into like a cult and communing with the dead.
Yes.
Santeria, man.
So good. I'd watch that show. I'd watch this show.
So JR has McSween find out Sue Ellen's plan for Kristin's funeral so that he can put his plan in motion.
Yep.
That
And I'm like,
red flag.
red flag. None of this is good.
You
None of
are
it's
an ass. You're gonna go after your wife, well, separated wife, when she's grieving. Fuck you, JR.
Where's
Right?
the
Yep. Fuck you, JR.
Trash.
Garbage.
Trash. And then we cut to Cliff going to see Jeremy, basically with his hat in his hand.
thinking he's going to get some position with Westar?
Right. And Jeremy's just like, bitch, are you kidding me?
You're a loser.
You just fucked up everything. I just gave you everything and you fucked it all up.
Westar is not in the business of rewarding losers.
I know. I'm like, oh, and I feel like this is the first time. And then, so they say it a couple times this episode, and I'm like, this is where all the Cliff loser stuff starts. Because it really wasn't before in the series. He was just the young politician, and now it's like, oh, okay.
We didn't really
this is what we're doing.
Hear that word ever.
Nope. No, it really hits in this episode. It stands out.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
There's a difference in, when we cut to the next scene, this is a difference in the filming, or
yes,
maybe the more budget that they're getting.
Bigger budget. Yep, I wrote that down. Yep.
Because
we
you
get
don't
to see
have
that
JR
little walkway.
You don't have JR dumping the car in front of the viewing building. You have him walking in, and he's got he meets that PI in the lobby and tells him to go down to San Angelo and keep tabs on Sue Ellen. And I have things to say about this PI later.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
As we cut to Bobby swimming, drink, and Pam was just staring off into space like a psycho.
Pam's starting to unravel.
Yeah, just a wee bit. And Bobby's just like, oh, that was really uncomfortable in court. And Pam was like, yeah. Kristin was like on drugs and she's dead. Like, Bobby's just not reacting to this at all. And Kristin's death does not bother him at all, it seems like. He's just like, what? People die in our pool all the time, guys. It's fine.
That's what we have a skimmer for, to skim the bodies out of the pool.
Right. It's fine. Raul took care of it. It's good.
This is fine.
It's fine.
So
Pam almost compares herself to Kristin in the fact that she's unfulfilled in life.
Red flag.
That's like, Pam, what ideas are you toying with right now? That's a little scary.
Right. Yeah, because she's saying that. It's like, oh, that's a red flag. Because she's just like, oh, I kind of know how she feels. What? Well, that's not good.
Do you want to take PCP and go flying off the balcony too?
No.
But she's kind of saying, like, she understands why someone would do that, you know? Because she's mentally feeling pretty shitty. So Bobby then tries to encourage her to have a baby. She's like, well, I can't have a baby. And then he's like, the doctor said that you totally could probably have a baby. And she's like, the doctor said there's a huge chance I could miscarry at 3 months. And he's like, but there's a chance you won't too. And she's like, I could not survive another miscarriage. After just saying the other thing about understanding Kristin's like escaping through drugs. So this is the second red flag in like 3 minutes.
Why is he such a man? I mean, I get where his head is.
It's Bobby Ewing.
It's Bobby Ewing, Bobby the therapist Ewing. Like, he has all kinds of bad advice. Like, he needs to stop talking this episode, especially.
Yeah. No, he really does need to stop talking, but he's just like, da, 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 da. Yeah.
It's like, you're not listening to her. Okay, she's spiraling.
Right. If your wife says, I really am understanding that person who just took drugs and died in our pool, maybe we should talk to somebody about that.
And that's another thing. We have no idea why right now Kristin felt like she had to start doing angel dust and flying from balconies. Because
we don't know. I have my own theories that people aren't going to like, but
no.
She had her first exposure to the drug scene when she was on Knots Landing, in that one episode when she was at a party where
that we know of.
Right, the first one that we had seen, where actually the actor who played Dave Culver, Tom Fuccello, was playing another part, and he was at that same party.
Mm-hmm.
But then I also think at the same time, she and Sue Ellen both have addictive personalities, and I think they come genetically by it.
They do for Sue Ellen, but also what happened to Kristin right before she left Dallas that might have scarred her a little bit, other than shooting JR?
Right before she left Dallas?
Yeah.
She was pregnant.
She was raped by JR.
That's right.
Like, I know people aren't going to like that.
No,
but it's true.
No.
And it happened. And we saw it on screen.
I forgot.
And then she fucking shot him and then had to leave town.
Why did I...
With child.
Right.
Why did I never put that together
Jock
before?
Ewing's grandbaby.
I thought she was...
Jailbird.
I thought she was angry. Just angry at him. I never put that together. And then I just remembered...
Right. And then she's just going to fucking escape because she's dealing with a PTSD. God. Don't really usually get over being raped very quickly.
Jock Ewing's grandson. Jail baby. Perhaps I'll write my memoirs there.
So what does she do? It's 1981. She doesn't go...
1981.
She doesn't go get help. She self-medicates and she plots revenge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then she's out in California where she's... surrounded by a drug culture, and she's predisposed to
addiction through genetics. Yeah.
Well,
because as we later learn, her father was a lush.
This is I am so conflicted right now because I'm like, holy shit, I love to hate J.R. Ewing. He can be redeemable, but at the same time, he's a fucking rapist, and everything within me is like, this is terrible.
Uh-huh. It's complicated. It's complicated. It's not a black and white show at all.
Kristin is not the only one.
I know. There's someone on one of the Dallas groups who brings it up all the time, and people get mad at them, but it's true.
I mean, if I wasn't, I gotta say, in my younger years, I may not have seen it, but now, like, the emotional maturity is. I
definitely never saw this when I was a kid.
No,
watching the show. No. Watching it this time, I was just mortified, and I was like, "What is happening on screen right now?"
Not even in my.
I'm J.R. Ewing. She wants it and she knows it. She's just not saying it. No.
Not even
right, and that was
oh God. Not even in my 20s.
That would make it on TV in 1981.
And that's just so sick. Like everybody was like, "Oh, he's this womanizer," and I'm like, if he had to rape somebody,
if she's saying no,
rape somebody's
right.
And it makes me think of Sue Ellen. How many times did she endure that? Uh-huh. Just thinking it was part of marriage,
even before the series started.
Right.
We don't know what went on.
She would have had no idea because also people didn't talk about that stuff, and it was actually legal.
Probably marital rape was not a thing until 1984.
Right. It wasn't illegal to 1984, which is such fucking bullshit.
I should say, it wasn't illegal. It wasn't a term that was accepted. And even then...
Right. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's some people who'd probably fight you on it, which is...
Trash. Oh, absolute garbage.
Trash.
Yes.
Yeah.
So...
Tangents.
Yeah. Tangents. Okay.
Tangents.
So then we got to Afton in a negligee.
She's looking quite expensive.
She is. Yeah, she looks really nice, I think.
She was handsomely rewarded for helping JR.
Right. Oh, you're right. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's why she has
got
a
out of
nice
Mitch's
name.
apartment. Arliss has gone back to Biloxi.
Right.
So
I didn't put that together.
No one's there to keep her in line.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Then JR comes over, asks her to fix a drink, which she does.
JR's not in the mood. He's not in the mood that night. He just
Shocker.
wants to go home.
Shocker.
Yep, he's sulking, and he tells her, like, basically, like, yeah, Sue Ellen left me.
Like, is that not what you wanted, you idiot? How many episodes ago were you thinking about, like, leaving her for Leslie Stewart, you fucking moron?
Uh-huh. Yep, the whole show. He's been like, whoa, Sue Ellen, blah, blah, blah. And then we cut to the next scene where it's like the long pan.
She has the kid.
She actually fucking left him.
It was her, but it was also, like, her choice to leave. He didn't kick her out, blah, blah, blah. She left and she took the kid. And so it's a long panning shot of John Ross's room with him just sulking.
She tried to take the kid, and he took him back, and then Pam, like, got some balls and did something awesome. And
Go, Pam, go.
I love that for her.
He's sulking. He's not
Same.
sulking because he's sulking because he didn't have control over the situation.
Totally. Yes.
I'm sure he does miss the child to a point.
The one that he never would interact with until recently.
Yes, that one. That one.
Yeah.
And also, and I think he's also, he'll never admit it, but I think he's upset that Sue Ellen left him.
Yes.
You know?
He didn't have control. You know what?
He didn't have control of it.
And he never would have, what they always say. What do they always tell the mistresses?
Yeah, he's never going
to leave her. He was never going to leave her.
No, never, ever, ever.
And I really think he was comfortable and secure knowing that he was never going to leave her, and he didn't expect that she would either, because he was buying her affection when he wasn't treating her like shit. And then when she finally did, it was like, what?
Right. He never thought she'd leave.
It was a back and forth yo-yo relationship.
Yeah. One he thought he was in firm control of, and also like he thought he had her, and he didn't have to worry about her actually leaving ever.
Because she was a possession, a Ewing possession.
I think he loved her as much as he knew how.
Yes,
as much as he was capable of.
Because he's so emotionally stunted.
Dysfunctional love.
Yeah, very dysfunctional.
Like, I do believe he loved his mother and father and John Ross, his brothers to a point.
Once he found out John Ross wasn't the bastard.
Right,
it was actually his.
Was blood related, yeah. Ugh, gross.
John Ross had just started getting teeth, so it really wasn't as long as everybody thought it was. Less than a year.
That's still a pretty long time, though, to like be ignoring a kid who was supposed to be yours.
True. It really is. But even afterwards, he still didn't really pay a whole lot of attention.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we cut to Paris.
Oh.
You want to insert a little French Parisian cafe music here?
And the phone rings in Ellie's room. It's JR.
But she's not yelling.
There's no screaming. There's no screaming.
There is
no screaming.
There is no screaming.
Basically, he just wants to spill the tea, tell her everything that's happening at Southwark.
Yeah.
I feel like she basically was like, "Oh, don't tell your father." How many times have I heard that in my life?
Oh, totally.
Don't tell your father.
Totally. Yeah.
Don't tell Jock that JR and Bobby's plane has crashed. he won't notice. He won't notice the two missing seats at the table.
You never know.
He couldn't handle it.
Nope.
I think that's going to bring Jock and Miss Ellie home.
It might.
Right. Yeah.
Then we cut to Southern Cross, where the limo is pulling up, and my question is like, do they just have a limo? Like, are they so fancy that their only car is a limo that just with a driver that drives them everywhere?
And
they need someone to open the butler to open the door, one door, and him to
like that's fancier than the Ewing.
Sue Ellen hit the jackpot.
She really did.
She's really like, did. Yeah. I have a whole ass driver to drive me around now in a limo, and I don't have to put myself in that ugly ass station wagon.
Which turned up on Knots Landing as Susan Sullivan's car. I've been watching the first season of Knots Landing. It was a
really popular kind of car at that point, though.
The old Mercury or the Mercedes-Benz?
The wagon.
Well, she had a Mercedes wagon too.
I'm actually going back to the wood panel wagon.
The first one.
Oh, okay.
Sarah's wagon.
That was a fucking wagon. Yeah, that was a very popular type of, like, that was everybody's mom had those cars.
The family truckster.
Not as fancy as that, but
like the family truckster in Vacation.
Yeah, I do like the car she gets. I don't think she gets it this season. She might get it next season. The coupe.
I don't know what that one is, so I'll have to check it out.
It's a blue 2-door Mercedes.
Oh, okay, cool. So Sue Ellen gets out of the limo, and she is, like, visibly way more upset. Like, she's just really upset now.
It's starting to hit.
Yeah, it's really actually hitting her that Kristin is dead.
And I just got to say, Linda Gray looks like absolute fire this whole season.
She really does.
Is gorgeous. Not that she isn't, like, normally, but I don't know what it is, like all the outside shots in San Angelo, and it like brings out her eyes look lighter.
She
It's really
is
weird.
some sort of alien that gets better looking the older she gets. And I don't know what that's about, but
Fine wine.
are you fucking kidding me, Linda Gray? Tell me your secrets.
Okay, so this was 1981. She was 40, not quite 41.
I was going to look up how old she was. So she's like 40. She's just like a little bit younger than me.
Barely.
in this.
She had probably
Okay.
just turned 41 or was about to when they started filming this season.
Yeah, she looks amazing.
She and Donna Mills have both aged very well without the work and everything. Because it's funny, they said that in the 80s, late 70s and 80 looked like Betty Davis and Jane Wyman, which was old. Now, being in your 70s and 80s looks like Linda Gray and Donna Mills. So people are...
And she might have a little bit of work done. I don't know. But if it does, it's really subtle, you know, and you can't really tell.
I think-
and it blends well. And
Well, she's pretty much been, I think, almost vegan for a long, long time.
I mean, and
She's
drinking a lot of water really helps.
Yeah.
So, you know.
She's afraid of plastic surgeons, I've heard.
Oh, she is? Okay.
So...
But I mean, you don't have to go to a plastic surgeon to get Botox. My dentist used to get Botox. So
just as long as you don't go overboard like John Kerry's wife, the senator from former senator of Massachusetts, his wife. She's part of the Heinz ketchup company, but she the Botox just no facial expressions at all.
yeah, that's a thing where then you're like, okay, so yeah, Sue Ellen's really upset, and she is just hitting her. Kristin's dead, and then she starts talking about memories they had that I question. Like she says, we didn't really play together. Well, yeah, because you're like how much older than her?
Right, you would have been like a teenager or something.
You would have been like high school when she was.
I think
a
they
little
were
kid.
like 12 years apart, honestly, if you go by, like if Mary
that makes sense.
If Kristin was supposed to be about Mary Crosby's age and Sue Ellen was, I think later on this season, we will figure out exactly when she met JR and how old she was. So Sue Ellen's supposed to be 34.
Okay, and so I'd say Kristin, because when Kristin was first on, she was about 19. That was a couple of years ago, so she's like 21.
Kristin's like
She was
21,
getting ready to
22.
go to college, remember?
Yeah,
She was talking about college. So.
She was like, but she was like a freshman in college. She was just going to college.
Right.
That first season or whatever, second season.
Now,
so
also later in the season, spoiler, see if you can pause it when they show birth certificate.
Okay, I can get a screen grab.
Yes.
Get a screen grab. Yes. Okay. Good idea. Okay. So yeah, then she talks about her going to high school, and when she got to high school, it was different. And that's what I was trying to figure out. I'm like, she probably would have been in high school in like started high school in like 73, something like that. So Sue Ellen would already be married to JR. But I'm sure, whatever, it's fine. Basically, she's saying like she went to high school and like she was super smart.
But Patricia's influence
got in the way because she was just like that's not what matters. What matters is marrying well, moving up in society, and having money.
And I don't think Sue Ellen realized just how smart she was either. Like,
oh, for sure.
Patricia had two brilliant daughters that could have done anything. And she was like, "Oh, I'll polish."
Yep. Shame.
Grooming them for the life of a rich housewife.
Yeah, a really sad life, you know?
It really is.
And then Sue Ellen ponders that she might have turned to drugs because she didn't live up to her mama's goals, and maybe why Sue Ellen turned to alcohol. But I believe it's probably way more to do with the fact that you're genetically predisposed to do that because your father was an alcoholic. So,
and he took off right after Kristin was born and died a year later.
Right. Like, it's a disease. So that's unfortunate, but yeah.
Dusty offers to go to the funeral with her, but she's going to go alone with John Ross.
Yeah, she doesn't want to like have to explain who Dusty is to people, and I don't blame her. That'd be a lot.
So JR's he's interviewing secretaries and there's Heather, who's the slow typing redhead who types about 45 words a minute, starts to hit on JR, and it kind of reminded me of like, is this a Julie Gray wannabe?
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
It's almost, but JR wants to keep that name on file.
Yep. Though I think the actress, you know who I thought she looked a lot like is, it's a spoiler, but not really, because if you haven't seen the series, you're not going to know who this is. I think she looks like Vanessa.
Ah. Gail Honeycutt.
Yeah,
I
she
was
kind of
just
has that vibe. I don't know.
I was just thinking of the whole Julie Gray vibe.
Right. And I bet it's a redhead, and then she bends over and shows her boobs. And I think it's like, hey, are you choosing to have this secretary again? And he's just like, no. But, keep her number on file.
We're going to go in a different direction. And in comes...
exclusive services.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then in comes the next candidate who Larry Hagman referred to as Heidi, the way she was dressed with her hair down. And
That's cute.
Yeah.
Considering his own daughter's name is Heidi.
Right. That's what I was like. Isn't that his daughter's name? That's weird.
Technically her middle name, I think, but she's...
Oh, okay.
Isn't that right? I know her name is Christina Heidi or Heidi Christina.
Oh.
I can't remember. It's one or the other.
I'm going to read her book someday. It's been on my list for
it's good.
20 years.
It's a little eye-opening.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can discuss that on a DOA meeting.
Ooh, yeah. And that could be something that a book club at some point, maybe.
We could do Linda's book. We could do Larry's book. We could do Christina's book.
Could. We have so many books. Yep. So she says her name is Sylvia, but her friends call her Sly.
She types 120 words shorthand and 90 words longhand a minute, which is double the redhead.
Yep.
She's worked in Houston with other oil companies, blah, blah, blah.
She seems very qualified.
And then the phone rings, or Phyllis buzzes in and says that Lieutenant McSween is on the phone, to which Sylvia or Sly says, is that Harry McSween? So she obviously knows Harry McSween. Apparently her father and Harry are buddies, and she refers to him as Uncle Harry.
So this is the first time I realized that it wasn't her real uncle. Because she always calls him Uncle Harry, and I always thought it was her actual uncle, because I forgot this scene. So, cool.
And that's enough to get her the job, apparently.
Oh, yeah. Hired on the spot. And then we cut to Ray buying Donna a really extended scene about him buying her a saddle, like a really fancy, expensive saddle.
So riding in the Founders Day parade, maybe?
Yeah, it was. I felt like this scene was really long for what it was. I don't know. Just kept going.
It almost made me go, like it's out of place. Like, why is this scene here?
And then we cut to Cliff meeting Rebecca for lunch. He tells her he's been at interviews all day.
Did you notice the Barnes building, the gold building in the background?
Oh, I didn't.
Oh. So that was obviously filmed right near there.
Yeah, for sure. And he's looking for jobs, which makes me be like, oh, I guess he does not work for Bobby anymore. And I want to know, like, did he quit? Did Bobby fire him? Was it, like, mutual?
I think it was pretty much understood that.
Just understood? I don't know.
When Bobby said you're done in politics, I think that was kind of it.
Oh, that's him being like, you're just done, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. And then Rebecca is like, you're a lawyer. You could open your own practice. To which I was like, yeah, you're a lawyer. Just open your own practice. And then he's like, well, if I'd get any clients. But like, you have to try. So why aren't you?
Dallas is a small town and everybody's in the Ewing's pocket.
But there's a lot of people who hate the Ewings. I think he'd totally get clients if he tried. I think it's an excuse.
He won't get Jeremy Wendell as a client.
Well, no, Jeremy Wendell would not use him.
No.
He'd be a little too low rent for our Jeremy.
Yeah.
And then Rebecca tells him that this fight with the Ewings isn't worth it. And then, he's trying to convince her that it is, basically. And she's like, did you pay no attention to your daddy?
Which is why I had to leave you all for all those years.
It's why I had to pretend I was dead. Jesus,
Lord have mercy.
I wonder how many people in life go around pretending they're dead just to get away from people. I know Olivia Newton-John's husband faked his death to get away from her.
What? Really?
Yeah.
To get away from her? Wow. That's pretty intense. Damn.
Yeah.
No way.
Yep.
Did they ever find him?
Yes, they found him alive years later, living somewhere else with another family or something like that.
I thought that was a bunch of bullshit. Hang on. I'm going to Google this.
Okay. You give it a goog, and then we're going to talk about Ray and Donna run into Punk at that same Western store.
Let's not forget that saddle is going to be delivered by noon.
Because they're buying a saddle and he's buying clothes in the same store.
Whoops.
Awkward.
That's why that scene is there.
I guess, yeah. It's so weird.
Apparently, the Lubbock deal is moving forward and
going well.
Success.
Yeah, it's going good. And those are the most mom jeans I've ever seen on Donna's ass in this scene. Like, when they're walking away, all you could pay attention to is Donna's ass because of her jeans. I'm just saying. And then we cut to Harry talking about he got all the deets from the coroner about the funeral.
Yes.
Slime.
Yep. Slime. Terrible. And then we cut to the store. Bobby, he's coming to see Pam, but she has flown to San Angelo to visit Sue Ellen.
Yeah, and Bobby's like, Larry, fire up the the South Fork helicopter. Meet me on the Ewing building in an hour. Blah, blah, blah.
And I'm like, Bobby, you're getting a chopper to land on top of the Ewing oil bit. Like,
it's a chopper.
You think that's a little over the top? Maybe it's a little over the top. Just saying. Okay.
Okay. So I found...
He's found in Mexico after missing for 12
there
years.
Was there was never any evidence released other than the PI's own claim. There's no proof beyond that. And it was an article in the Daily Telegraph, which I liken to Hello or OK Magazine, which is like, no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Weird.
So he's been technically disappeared since 2005.
Weird. Oh, that like recent.
Yeah. He went missing in 2005, and in 2010, a PI hired by an American television program claimed that McDermott was alive in Mexico and had faked his death for a life insurance payout, but did not provide proof beyond their own statement that they were confident.
Oh, okay. Well, so probably not then.
Probably not. But she remarried. Well, she wasn't even married to him.
Good for her.
Wasn't even married to him,
okay.
but she got married.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Anywho.
Anyway, so with Bobby, I just want to say, like, this could have been a phone call before you, like, got a helicopter to land on top of the building you work in to take you there. You couldn't just, like, give her a call? Because you know where she's going. Just give her a little ring.
No, it's because they had a bigger budget now and they could do these things.
I get it. I'm just saying, like, a little overkill.
They're flexing their budget muscle. That's all it is.
They really are. They are, yes.
Now we cut to that scene that I want.
Yeah, with Cliff and Afton.
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay, so he catches her, like, leaving her apartment, and he's, like, super excited to see her. He's just like, Afton, I've been totally trying to get a hold of you. And she's just like, yeah. And he's like, I've been leaving messages on your answering machine.
Oh, I know, Cliff.
You haven't called me back?
Yeah.
And he's just really not getting it, and it's really awkward.
And then she says he used her to get information, and he says, well, that's not entirely true. So he's saying it's partially true. I used you to get information. So he's owning up to that.
Right. But she's like basically gaslighting him about something that she did. She's like trying to flip the script on him, and he doesn't know anything, and he's just like, okay, like originally maybe like I thought you might have information, but like not since then. Like I really like you. We have a good thing going.
And then she drops the L word.
Yeah. And then she's just like, yeah, Lisa, bye. You can't sit with me anymore.
Now, according to Ken Kercheval, when Afton called Cliff a loser, it stuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he was always coming back to try again, and he wore his emotions on his sleeve. And if he ever got angry, he exploded. If he got sad, he cried. In another interview, he elaborates that Cliff isn't a loser. He's the most resilient human being in the world, because to take the punishment that this guy has taken, he's willing to come back and face the most formidable foe on television. And that's not a loser in Ken's book. He says, if I had adapted this attitude in my performance, nobody would have given a damn about Cliff Barnes, but I'm the guy that everybody out there has been. He's not too tactful with the ladies sometimes, but, you know, not much class, but, you know, what can he say? He's always coming back for more, so he's more resilient than he is a loser.
I agree with every bit of that, and that is why I like Cliff, is because I don't think he's a loser at all. I think that he just keeps coming back and trying again. And I do think he has a little bit of an issue with the Ewings that he needed to get past, and that's the thing that's standing in his way. And if he would have just gotten past that, he could have done anything he wanted to do. But yeah, I don't think he's a loser.
Not a loser.
Not a loser.
So how do you do the N on the forehead? N-L, not loser.
Right? Not.
Yeah.
And then we cut to Southern Cross, where Pam is like doing her damnedest to just be the person to take care of John Ross in lieu of Sue Ellen.
And Maria, the maid, who was supposed to feed him lunch.
And Sue Ellen is very tactfully trying to be like, so I don't think I'm really the person that you wanted to see here. I think it might be John Ross.
Here, take the child.
Yeah.
As Clayton refers to him as the child.
Yeah. And Pam's like, okay, yes, I really did want to see him, but I'm also really worried about you and blah, blah, blah. And I think Pam really is, even though she obviously has some issue with really wanting to be around John Ross, she is trying to be a friend to Sue Ellen, like genuinely.
Their blossoming friendship.
Yeah. And I love her little thing about how emotionally supportive Dusty is. And because I think that's just so new to her that a man could be that way.
And Pam said it's too bad that she had to leave South Fork to find that.
It is too bad.
Yeah. So we break that scene up with Jerry, the PI, calling JR to tell him that his sister-in-law is at the Southern Cross. And JR's like, what the hell is she scheming now? And JR wants to know the day after tomorrow when Sue Ellen and John Ross will be leaving for the funeral, which is they're leaving the day after tomorrow. Now, he gets off the phone, and Jerry is sitting parked right across from the entrance to the Southern Cross with a pair of binoculars. Hello.
Right. Not subtle. Did
he come from the same PI agency that the guy who was following Sue Ellen for Dusty did?
Probably. I bet it's a agency out of Tonio.
San Angelo.
Oh, San Angelo, whatever. San Angelo. I can't get it right. Yes.
I
can't talk today. So then we cut to this scene is ridiculous. Everything about this is ridiculous. Bobby's flying in on the helicopter to someone's house where he has not been invited. They don't know he's coming. He doesn't ask, is it okay if I park my helicopter on your lawn? You know, like what's that going to do to the lawn? I feel like that's not good for landscaping.
They even think it's JR that's coming in the helicopter.
Yeah, they're all freaked out. They're like, holy shit, he's coming in a helicopter.
And Clayton tells Dusty to stay with Sue Ellen and the child or the boy. What about Pam? Yes. She not there? He doesn't see Pam?
He doesn't give a shit.
And then Bobby comes off the helicopter and...
I was like, surprise, bitches, it's Bobby. with more bad advice.
Surprise, bitches.
Clayton says, oh, you've come for your wife, I'm assuming.
Yeah, because she needs a handler.
Why don't you come in and join us for a drink after?
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? Since you're not JR, come on in.
Right.
And then he's like overreacting, I think, where he's like, you came here without telling me. And she was like, well, like you could have called. And she was like, well, maybe, but I'd be back by dinner.
Like
so
I was
whatever.
planning on coming home before dinner.
Yeah.
Like you would never would have known I was here, but okay.
Yeah. All right.
What's the big deal? I came to see Sue Ellen and the baby.
Yeah.
The one time that Bobby wants to show up at Pam's work to probably take her to lunch, and she's just not there.
Yeah. And then he's mad.
Yeah.
Dude, how many times did she, you know what, we're not going to go there right now.
It's true, though. It's true.
Like the time he pouted because he wanted to go to the movies with her and she had to work.
Right. When he had just been like ignoring her forever. Ugh. Yeah. And then after getting done yelling at her, then he yells at Sue Ellen for using Pam. And so I was like, hold up. Like, that was my only choice, and you know that. And my kid belongs to me. So what are you talking about?
P.S. Pam has turned out to be, like, an actual friend.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Sue Ellen understands what it's like to have a friend.
Yeah. They're helping each other out.
I'm going to chime in with the male Ewing mentality that is probably there. No, the women are not allowed to be friends because they're Ewing possessions. They're not allowed to do anything to contradict the men.
Yeah, which is just stupid.
Trash. And that's the thing. They might get a mind of their own and start doing, like, start hatching schemes like this. Yeah.
Can't have that.
Nope.
Can't have that. They need to have their watercress sandwich parties and teas and.
Yeah.
Because I'm wondering if it was actually Pam who got in touch with Sue Ellen and said, "Do you want me to bring the baby to you?"
Oh, yeah, maybe.
I don't know if Sue Ellen would have thought of that.
Right, like, because thought she wouldn't have
Pam was taking JR apart, like, after they dragged Sue Ellen out of there. Was like, he belongs with her.
Yep.
If I remember, didn't she go to the store or see Pam somewhere and say that she's going to need her help?
That's a good question. I don't remember.
Yeah, because she came in that last episode. She had the white dress on with the blue.
Oh.
And Pam had the white dress on with the brown.
Could be. Yeah.
No, we can just cut that whole part. I'm wrong.
We don't know what help she was asking for because they cut at the end.
Or maybe even being like, "Hey, help me think of something because I need to get him back." Or
could
whatever,
you even when this goes to trial, like the divorce? You're my witness. You saw what he did.
Right.
You saw him physically take the baby from me.
Right. So we don't know what the two of them talked about in the office after they cut.
We don't.
Mm-mm.
We have to assume that because of the way things transpire that she was trying to, get the baby
But Sue Ellen is legitimately worried for Pam right now, and that's what she turns the conversation into. She's like, "I'm worried for her," and then they kind of talk about the possibility of, because of how Pam is about trying to have a kid, maybe adoption. And then Bobby's like, "Yeah, maybe adoption." Dun dun dun.
That's always a possibility, but I don't know if the Ewings would adopt. I don't know if that would ever happen.
Right.
Meanwhile, back at South Fork, in a very long away camera shot for quite a while in this scene, which obviously because we didn't see them close up, they must have been doing the dialogue after.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's Lucy and Donna. And when did Lucy and Donna become friends? Because I feel like that surprised me. I'm like, they're riding horses together? Okay.
I know she was nudging them back together again, at the
true
parties and things. But
I don't know. But I'm all for it because they're basically talking about the patriarchy. So hey, girls, go.
And the money, and the because Mitch, women making more money than men, and blah blah blah, and. But Donna doesn't think that money should be the be all to end all.
Right. And she's basically it doesn't really help either way. If it's that you think it's going to help, it's just going to cause other problems. So, yeah.
She tells Lucy not to give up, and Lucy doesn't want to give up.
Yep. And then Barker shows up at JR's office.
He and JR and Sly are working late, and she's wearing that floral print dress.
And then it's it's basically the first law battle for custody of John Ross. And he's kind of pissed because he's like, "You told me that by the first trial, John Ross would be in your custody because if he's not, then your chances of actually getting him are pretty slim. So figure it out."
Right. And he has scary eyes. Barker,
he does scary. Yeah. He's not messing around.
Yeah. Then we cut to it must be the next day. And this is the first time we see this angle, JR walking through the Ewing oil door from the other side.
Okay.
And it's our first shot of Sly and Phyllis together.
And I think it's our first time seeing Marilee Stone blonde.
Oh, that's true. Is she sipping some, is she have a little nip in that tea or coffee?
I mean, probably. Yeah, probably. Is it past 9 a.m.? Then yes.
Right. Has the sun come up? Then yes.
Then yes. Yes.
Yes.
And she's asking JR first out to lunch and then dinner. Okay, Marilee.
Lunch and then dinner. Don't you have that
She
backwards?
wants to move in on this.
Aren't you thinking about dinner then breakfast? Like, just say it, Marilee.
Right.
Oh, Sue Ellen's left you. There's this rich, powerful man that I can sink my claws into.
Right.
Maybe I could be the next Mrs. Ewing, she says.
Right.
Thinking to herself.
Okay, Marilee.
I don't think that would sit well with Jock Ewing at the same table.
Probably not.
I don't know.
Like the same guy that she went psycho on for blaming her husband's death. She's like, "Oh, I want to shack up with you now."
Right?
Really?
Isn't that weird? It's
really?
a weird turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. If Jock could not deal with an uppity woman like Leslie Stewart, he certainly would not do well with JR.
Let's be real, Jock wouldn't be good with like most of the rest of the seasons.
No.
So, I mean,
his
he
dinosaur.
wouldn't be good with the world past 1970. I don't think he was good with the world really past 1956. So that's where that is.
His dinosaur mentality is fading.
Yeah, as that generation did. Thank God. There's still a little few trying to, go, but it's like coughing its last coughs as we speak. Thank God. So then Bobby is talking to Daddy on the phone. Oh, and the news is they're going to come home early because Mama is worried about John Ross.
But they're going to stop in London and then New York just to cure the jet lag before they.
Yeah, for
home.
Sure. Like you do.
Okay.
Yeah, like you do. And then Pam comes in. She has a bunch of stuff she bought for John Ross, and JR has some stuff to say about that.
He's such an ass.
Calls her John Ross's demented aunt.
He, in fact, does. And the look on her face when he says that, where she's like, it hits her because, it's maybe a little too close.
I feel like season 1 Pam would have been like, up yours.
Yeah, season 1 Pam would not have taken that.
No.
But, season 5 Pam is like, oh.
She's going down the rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm. She really is. And she's like, well, I guess I better leave.
I know. I was like, shots fired, asshole. God.
Yeah, God.
Jerk.
And Don and Ray come in, and then they are going out to dinner with Bobby and Pam. But Pam seems like she doesn't remember. Or
oh yeah, she's completely taken off guard. Like, oh what? Okay, I guess.
Just to further emphasize her mental state.
Yeah, and then JR gets a phone call just to make sure everyone is in place.
And this last act is his entire plan that he's been building this whole episode.
So Sue Ellen and John Ross get on the helicopter at Southern Cross and they fly away. They're flying to Love Field, which I said, #Kennedy vibes.
Which is the original home of headquarters of Southwest Airlines, where they started.
Oh, really? Okay. Interesting.
I believe. Cool. Sue Ellen gets off with John Ross in his little vest and suit.
Oh, he's in a suit. He's a child. God.
He looks so cute.
He does
He's a
look
little
cute.
man.
Yeah.
He's so cute.
Yeah, I know. It's a little man.
A little man.
How
in
long
his
did it
little
take
overalls.
them to get Tyler Banks into that suit?
Yeah.
I don't know, because he wants it. That kid just wants to do his own thing all the time. It's adorable.
Yeah. It is. He's always like, Mama, looking off screen.
I know.
Hilarious. And then they're always like, oh, it's Sue Ellen. He wants you. Nope. Nope.
No, I want Blood Mama.
Yeah.
I think it's always helpful, like, when you have child actors, but the actor who's handling them is also a parent, because they, know what they know what to do.
Right, exactly. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So then they're walking through, and then some dude comes up to Sue Ellen, distracts her, and says, hey, Mr. Farlow wants you over here. And then she's like, what? And then some other dude comes and yanks John Ross out of her arms, which had to be the scariest thing in the world.
Snatches. I like that word, snatches.
Snatches.
He's got his hand over her mouth. She's struggling.
No one's doing anything in the middle of the airport when this is happening?
Nope. Nobody did a thing. And she was, trying to scream, and he was like, I really wish she would have bit him.
In broad daylight.
In broad daylight, in the middle of an airport. I guess this is before there was any sort of security at an airport.
She should have Rochambeau'd him. She should have Rochambeau'd him, square in the nuts.
Right. And then there's that quick shot of JR like watching from above with that like evil grin on his face.
Bell.
Scump trash.
Yep. And then you're like, oh my God, it sucks. And then
Here comes Dusty.
Dusty
Give
with a
me the
bunch
boy.
of random dudes.
In one mighty hobble, as JR would say.
Yep. Give me the boy. Give us.
And then they stop the whole thing.
Like they just back down. They're like, yeah, here's the kid. Bye.
Oh. They're like, oh yeah, sorry, bye.
Dusty had some foresight to figure that JR might try something. And he
This-
flew up ahead of time with a couple of the boys.
And I think this scene just shows that like Dusty and Clayton are an even match for JR.
And JR knows it now.
And JR now knows it because just the cut to the look on his face is so beautiful. Love it.
He's
'Cause
like,
Now-
I'm fucked.
Now you have Dusty and Clayton, and JR is without his daddy. If Jock had been home, the dynamic of that battle might
That could have been ugly.
be very, very interesting. Could get very ugly.
Do you think that Jock would have sided with JR in taking John Ross back? I don't know if he would. Because I think he'd think that women take care of kids.
Well, that's a good point because Miss Ellie, remember, coming up, spoiler, she goes down to see him at Southern Cross with JR,
Hiding in the helicopter.
hiding in the helicopter, and he tries to use his mother to get the baby out. Right. And she realizes it, and she's like, I want my grandson back on South Fork, but not like this.
Right. I just don't think that Jock and Miss Ellie would be down with that. Jock maybe more than Ellie, but I don't think Ellie would play that.
I think Ellie and Jock would, if Jock hadn't, would, well, which hasn't happened yet. But
Not yet.
She obviously
Spoiler.
is like, wait, doesn't he end up in...
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like demanding over the phone that JR get him back no matter what.
Yep.
Sure. It's been too long for me.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I remember this quite a bit. And Miss Ellie's like, no, while he's down there, I have that kind of say up here, and it's not happening.
Doing it. Yeah.
No. Which makes me wonder-
One of those things they disagreed on.
Which makes me wonder if Jock was home and not in South America and he was making those demands.
Maybe. Yeah, you're right.
The dynamic of Jock and
It would have been different.
JR against Clayton and Dusty would have been interesting to see.
Yeah.
I'm glad that Dusty had that foresight, though, because when you look at kidnappings, who's the first person you need to look at if the parents are split up?
Even if they're not kidnappings,
even if they're not
child
split up
murders,
yet.
everything, it's usually a parent or a close relative.
You would always start
one of the
looking at
parents, and we're not going to specify male or female parent.
Yeah, no,
because
parents. It's you start close and work your way out.
Right.
Always, every time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which is why with the John Benet Ramsey thing,
I
was actually in that city when this happened.
You
Because we
were
were visiting my sister for Christmas that year.
I have a theory.
We had the whole family. My theory is that the brother accidentally did something and
He was roughhousing
they
with
covered
her?
it up.
And they covered it up. Instead of just telling the cops that it was a terrible, terrible accident and let them do their job.
Yeah, I heavily think that could definitely be a theory, a good theory on that.
That's actually happened a couple of
is it-
times.
is it the-
or the what's
Is it the mother or the father that's dead right now?
The mother.
The father
Mother.
is
cancer.
still alive.
Yeah, the father and the brother.
He married someone else whose kid also died tragically.
Oh God, that's like a whole other
They met
level
at
of
one of those
grief,
crime convicts.
grief partners. Oh,
Because
Jesus.
he had an older daughter who died too.
Oh my God.
She died in a car accident or something. And they were going to fly to Michigan because that's where he's from that day.
Well,
So yeah, John Benet Ramsey. Okay. So yeah, it ends with JR staring down at them in disbelief. Freeze frame.
And scene.
I'm giving this 4.25 bourbons and a demented ant.
I'm giving it a 4.35 and a coroner's report.
Ooh, nice.
I am going to give it 4.5 because I really like the dynamics of this episode and just like the underhandedness, even though it sucks, and some angel dust.
That's a good one. Why did I not think of that?
Oh no.
That's a good one.
Which ended up in my coroner's report too.
Yes.
Yes. There you go.
Yes.
So I would actually like to. So we have found recently that maybe you guys already know about it, being Dallas fans and podcast listeners, that there's another Dallas podcast, but it's a completely different format than us. And I've listened to it, and it's really amazing. And it's called Dallas After Show. And so I think if you're not already subscribing to it, that you should go check it out.
And as always, if you guys have any suggestions or anything you'd like to see for us to talk about,
why didn't no one tell us?
Try, please let us know. And by the way, to our Patreon members, we are going to try very, very hard to get better about the content.
Yeah, we have been. I mean, we've been having lots of outtakes and all of that.
Chaos.
So you're not, and our show notes are always available online and everything like that. But or like our handwritten notes from the show.
Yeah, mine.
Except for Josh.
Mine I can barely read, so I would not even subject.
Mine now, so.
I would not subject anybody to my chicken scratch.
Some of my notes,
you'll thank me.
Sometimes I take more notes than others. It just depends. Like
right.
I had barely like half a page today, and other times I filled up 2. Like
I have 3 to 4 usually typed.
Dang.
So,
yeah,
that's me though.
Yeah, I get about I get about that.
Because I can't remember anything. I can't remember it on the fly, so I have to write it down because my memory sucks now.
Because what I've started
really
doing
weird
is
how your memory works. Really weird.
I do almost like mini bullet point descriptions of the scenes, and then when we talk, it triggers, and I try to watch as close to the podcast time as possible, so it's still in my brain.
Yeah, it helps. I mean, I feel like I have more passion for the episode if I watch it really soon before we record. So I try to do that if possible. But hey, you should, come check out our Patreon if that's something that you're interested in. If not, save your money and, go buy something cool Dallas related on eBay. We also have our merch, which we have I made a new little link that's a little bit easy to remember. These are all bit.ly links. So it's bit.ly, bit.ly/Ewing BBQ merch. And then to check out the Jim Davis Memorial Fund, that is bit.ly/Jim Davis Memorial. The Jim Davis and Memorial are all initial caps, by the way, which I guess is important on bit.ly links. Check out our Facebook group, which is Ewing BBQ. Our Instagram is Ewing BBQ, and our Twitter is BBQ Ewing. Thank you for joining us tonight, and join us next time. Bye.
For Showdown at San Angelo. Y'all come back. Are you here?
Oh, I have nothing.
You can just say goodbye.
Oh.
No, that was perfect. Oh, I have nothing. That's perfect.
Superstar.
Next on Dallas.
How's John Ross?
John Ross is fine, Mama.
How's JR taking it?
Not too well, Mama.
I think I made a mistake when I took John Ross to Sue Ellen. Oh, Mama, I want a baby so badly. I need him.
JR, what is it?
It's Daddy. He's real upset.
Well, what about?
No matter what, he wants that boy back on South Fork.
JR, it would take an army to get your son off the Southern Cross.
Well, maybe not an army. Maybe a Trojan horse.